Welcome to Surviving Alzheimer's, Clarity, Courage, and Care. I'm Terry Youngdale, and I'm so glad you're with me today. If you're new to our community, I'm the founder of Memory Treatment Advisors and Alzheimer's survivor. I've been walking this journey with my mom, who has Alzheimer's, and she started Leqembi treatments back in 2019 as a part of a clinical trial. I participated as her study buddy throughout the majority of the process, and let me tell you, it has been a journey of incredible highs and some really challenging lows. Today, we're talking about something I wish someone had sat me down and explained to me early on in this journey: building a support circle. And I don't just mean having people around you, I mean strategically, intentionally creating a network of support that actually functions and sustains you through this marathon we call Alzheimer's care. Before we dive in, I want you to know that if you're listening to this and you're trying to do everything yourself, you're not alone in feeling that way. But you don't have to stay stuck there. There's a better way, and we're going to explore that together today. So let's start with some truth telling, because I think we need to get real about something. Alzheimer's doesn't just affect the person with the diagnosis, it affects everyone who loves and cares for them. And yet, so many of us, myself included, especially early on, we fall into this trap of thinking we should be able to handle it all ourselves. There's this weird mythology around caregiving that suggests if you really love someone, you'll sacrifice everything for them, that accepting help somehow diminishes your love or your commitment. I bought into that story completely with mom when she was first diagnosed, and there's nothing good that comes from that. Here's what it actually looks like in real life. You're running on 4 hours of sleep. You haven't had a real conversation with a friend in weeks, if not months. You're eating whatever you can grab between managing medications and appointments, and you're starting to feel like you're disappearing as a person. It sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? The truth is, trying to shoulder the entire responsibility yourself doesn't just hurt you. It actually limits the quality of care your loved one receives. When you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and isolated, you cannot show up to be your best self for anyone. I remember one particularly rough week when mom was having some behavioral changes, and I was trying to manage her care, my work, and coordinate with her doctors. I was trying to maintain some semblance of my own life, and I was making mistakes left and right. Because I was depleted, I didn't have any energy left. And that's when it hit me. This is not sustainable. And more importantly, this isn't what mom would want for me. She did not raise me to burn myself out in service to others. She raised me to be smart, to use my resources, and to ask for help when I needed it. But here's the one thing about support circles: they're not just about lightening your workload. Though they absolutely do that, they bring in different skills and strengths that you don't have. They're often emotional backups when the days feel overwhelming. They help you avoid that complete caregiver burnout that we often feel. I want to say that we rarely feel, but that we often feel. They make it so much easier to respond to emergencies or unexpected changes. When you have a proper support circle, you can focus on what only you can do. And those are the quality moments with your loved one. It allows you to focus on the big picture decisions and the advocacy work. You're not wasting your energy on tasks that someone else can handle just as well, or probably even better than you can. So let's talk about who actually belongs in a support circle. And I want you to think beyond just immediate family here, because one of the mistakes I made early on was thinking it had to be a blood relative doing all the heavy lifting. And your circle might include family members, absolutely, brothers, sisters, cousins, but it might also include friends and neighbors, those people who can help drop off a meal, possibly, or run errands, someone who can provide an hour or two of companionship. Don't underestimate the power of a neighbor who can just come and sit with your loved one for a couple of hours while you go to the grocery store, or maybe even just take a bath. Healthcare professionals are obviously a crucial part of your circle. Your neurologist, primary care providers, nurses, therapists. These folks aren't people that are just treating your loved one. They're part of your team, and you need to think of them that way. You also need to show them respect in that way. Support groups, and these can be in person, they can be online communities, people that just get it without you having to explain everything. There's something so powerful about talking to someone who understands exactly what you mean when you say your loved one had a difficult night, or when you're struggling with a medication decision. Faith or community leaders can be incredible resources too. Pastors, rabbis, community organizations. Often these communities are looking for ways to help families in crisis, but they need to know what you actually need. There's also hired help, home health aides, respite care providers, geriatric care minders. I know that those cost money and not everybody can afford that. But even if it's just for a few hours a week, a professional can help be a real game changer. It is expensive, and I know that we don't all have that money. There are also organizations who provide free services, or sometimes there's a scholarship that you can benefit from. So the key thing I want you to understand is that your support circle doesn't have to look like everyone else's. It should be built around your specific needs, your family dynamics or resources, and what's actually available to you. Let me start with a quick story of a lady that I worked with, and I'm going to call her Sarah. Sarah's mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and Sarah lives about 3 hours away. She could not be there every day, but she built an incredible support network. She had a neighbor who did daily check-ins, a cousin who handled grocery runs, a church friend who came by weekly to do laundry, and a professional caregiver who came twice a week. Sarah coordinated everything through a shared Google Calendar. And she said that something really stuck with her. She may not be able to be there physically all the time, but she's still at the center of her mom's care circle. And to her, that's what mattered. And it does matter. Being the coordinator, the advocate, the decision maker, that's still a huge role. You don't have to be the person who is there for every single task. Let me share one more story with you. And let me call this lady Carla. Carla was caring for her husband after his Alzheimer's diagnosis, and at first she refused all offers of help. She told me she thought that if she accepted help, it meant that she was failing her husband. And I'm sure all of you can relate to that, because I know I sure can. But here's what happened to Carla. She ended up in the emergency room with complete exhaustion. Her daughter came over to find her collapsed in the kitchen one morning. That was the wake-up call that changed everything. While Carla was in the hospital, her daughter insisted on making a list of people who had offered to help over the last few months. The list was a lot longer than what Carla thought it would be. Her daughter started reaching out to the people on that list with specific requests. Now neighbors take turns mowing the lawn. Some neighbors and friends are able to provide freezer meals on a rotating schedule. Carla's brother drives her husband to appointments once a week. And you know what he told Carla? Her husband told Carla. He told her that he looked forward to spending those drives with his brother-in-law because it was their one time that they could catch up. Carla told me something that she wasn't expecting. She didn't realize people wanted to help her as much as they wanted to help him, and it saved her health and their marriage. The last part really gets to me because it's the part about it saving their marriage. Because when Carla was exhausted and overwhelmed all the time, she wasn't showing up as a wife. She was a nurse. And when she got the support that she needed, she could take better care of her own needs. And that allowed her to be present for her husband in a completely different way. She could spend more time laughing with him. And again, not just managing his symptoms, she could enjoy their time together instead of dreading the next crisis. She could be his partner again, not just his caregiver. This is what I mean when I say building a support circle isn't just about practical help. It's about preserving relationships and preserving yourself in the process. And there's something else that Carla learned. Most people helping her told her how good it felt to be able to be a part of doing that and providing something meaningful. Her neighbor said that mowing the lawn gave him a sense of purpose. His friends said providing meals made them feel like they were a part of the solution instead of just showing up helplessly from the sidelines. When you let people help, you're not just receiving, you're giving them a gift too. It's a gift of being useful and making a difference in a situation, one that they probably feel just as overwhelmed as you do. Okay, let's get really practical here. How do you actually build a support circle? Because it's one thing to say get help, and it's another thing to figure out how to organize it all. First, you need to make a list of all of your actual needs. And I mean, get specific about all of those needs, whether it's transportation to an appointment, meal preparation, grocery shopping, even just errands to pick up a prescription, companionship for your loved one, someone to stay with them while you take a break, medical advocacy and appointment coordination, or emotional support for you. Write it all down and don't worry about who's going to do what yet. Just get clear on what actually needs to happen to get your household functioning and your loved one cared for. Next, you're going to match people to tasks based on their availability and their skills. This is where you get strategic. Your friend who loves to cook, she's perfect to help with meal preparation. Your neighbor who's retired and drives all over the place, that's someone who can help you with transportation to appointments. If you've got a sister like mine who's great at organizing, maybe she's the one that can help coordinate the calendar and additional communications. But here's the key insight. Don't assume you know what people want to do or are able to do. Ask them. You might be surprised. I had a friend who thought it would be perfect to help with emotional support and listening, but as it turns out, she wanted to help with more practical stuff. She helped me put together all the supplements that mom needed, and she helped me keep track of them and coordinated them all with the pharmacy. So use the tools to coordinate everything. This is so important and where a lot of people find that their support circles fall apart. People have good intentions, but without systems and good communication, things get chaotic. There are care calendars, group text, apps. There's an app called Lots of Helping Hands. There's another one called Caring Bridge. Find something that works for your group and use it consistently. The goal is that everyone knows what they're responsible for and when they're responsible for it, and how to communicate if anything changes. You want to eliminate the constant texting and phone calls of asking who's doing what and when. Here's the next one that really trips people up. Accept help without guilt. When someone offers to do something, your response needs to be yes, thank you, instead of I hate to bother you, or are you sure, or I think I can do it myself. Let's practice this one together because it was the hardest one for me. Just say yes. Thank you. That's it. Not yes, but you don't have to, or yes, but let me know if it's too much trouble. Just say yes. Thank you. Remember, most people genuinely want to help, but they often don't know what you need. So if you give them specific tasks, you're removing the guesswork and making it easy for them to follow through. And don't forget to include professional resources in your circle. Home health agencies, respite services, your local Alzheimer's organization. These aren't replacements for your personal support network. They're additions to it. They can bring expertise and consistency that can really strengthen your overall support system. And one more thing, your support circle is going to evolve. People's availability changes, your needs change, your loved one's condition will change. So build flexibility into that system from the beginning and don't be afraid to adjust it as you go. So let's talk about some of the additional or couple of elephants that are in the room. All the reasons why we resist building support circles, even when we know we need them. First, there's guilt. That's the voice in your head that says you should be able to do everything yourself. That accepting help means that you do not love your loved one enough, or that you're not strong enough. I carried this guilt for months and it was exhausting. What helped me was to realize that my mom did not want me to sacrifice my health and happiness for her care. She wanted me to be smart about getting the help we needed so I could show up as my best self for her. When I was able to reframe accepting help as honoring what she would want for me, the guilt started to dissolve. And for us, that was about the same time Phil came into mom's life. And he was able to take over a lot of the day-to-day tasks that I was struggling with. And it meant a lot for them as their relationship developed, for him to be the one that was helping with those. The next big elephant in the room is the control issue. Not that I have control issues. I do. The control issue, especially when Phil came in and was helping with a lot of the medical stuff, especially the medications. My control issue was he won't do it right. I'm just going to have to go in and redo it. And as I say that, I can see my grandmother and her tight little muscles in her face and her hands clenched. Don't bother. I'll just have to redo it. And there I was doing the same thing, when in reality, no, he doesn't do it exactly the way I did it, but it doesn't matter. He does it a different way that is just as good. and exactly what mom needs. So there are things that only you can do and that you have to do them in your specific ways. But focus your energy on those things and let other people handle the rest in their own way. Your loved one might actually enjoy the variety of having different people help with different tasks. Privacy is another big barrier, and you don't want to share personal details about your loved one's conditions or family struggles or family challenges. That's completely understandable, but consider that you don't have to share everything with everyone. You can give people just the information they need to help effectively. So if there's a situation where maybe you need to do a couple of loads of laundry for your loved one instead of having somebody help with that, nobody needs to know the details of that. They don't need to know that something was spilled. It's unnecessary. They're probably not even going to notice that you did a load or two. So you can keep things private. There's also a fear of burdening others, where we think everyone is too busy. I don't want to impose, and they have their own problems. But here's the truth again, most people are looking for meaningful ways to contribute. They see your family, they see the challenges that you have, especially with the new Alzheimer's diagnosis. They don't know what to do to help you. So when you ask for specific help, you're not burdening them. You're giving them a concrete way to make a difference. And they truly cannot help you if you won't tell them exactly what you need. So you're not forcing anyone to do anything. I want to share something that's really changed my perspective on this was when a friend of mine told me that watching our family navigate mom's Alzheimer's made her feel helpless. And this is the friend that I mentioned earlier. She wanted to help me, but didn't know what I needed. And so when I asked for specific help, she said that there was something that she could do, and that was helping me pull together the right supplements for mom. That shifted a lot in the way we were managing mom's care. So the bottom line is the barriers to accepting health are usually in our own heads more than it is in anybody's reality. So yes, building and coordinating a support circle, it does take some effort up front. But the alternative is trying to do everything yourself. That's not sustainable, and that's not serving anyone well. Remember that as you're taking care of your loved one, you're teaching your children how you want to be cared for. So consider that. What is sustainable in the care of your loved one, and what will be sustainable as your children care for you one day? As I wrap this up, I want you to remember that building a support circle is not just a luxury, it's a lifeline. By surrounding yourself with trusted people and resources to protect your health and preserve your energy, it allows you to be the best you that your loved one needs. And here's what I want you to do after you finish listening to this episode. At first, I want you to write down a list of needs that we talked about. Be specific and be honest about what you're currently trying to handle on your own. Second, think of all of the people in your life, the people who want to help, the people that are willing and able to help. And don't just edit the list based on assumption. Write down the names, write down all of the names. Third, pick one small thing that someone else could do for you this week. Maybe it's bringing a meal. Maybe it's just picking up an order from the grocery store. But one small thing, that one small start is going to allow you to practice accepting help and see how it feels. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the idea of organizing all of this, remember, you can find someone to help you organize that. I too am one of those people that can help you organize that. I help and work with families to identify the right mix of personal and professional support. I help them set up systems so anybody can put together their own support circle. You don't have to go to a special website. You don't have to send me a text. All you have to do is give me a call. My number is 214-924-6102. Just give me a call, schedule a time for us to go over it together, and we'll make it happen. Next week on the podcast, we're going to talk about something even more helpful for caregivers, and that's meditation. I have developed 6 new meditations to help you balance caregiving. So those will be up on YouTube later this week. So next week we can talk about them in more depth. Before you go, I want to remind you that you're not in this alone. Alzheimer's is bigger than any one person can handle. There's wisdom and strength in building a community around your loved one's care. So this week, take care of yourself, ask for help, accept support when it's offered. And remember, you're not just caring for them, you're modeling what sustainable love looks like. You're teaching that to your children. So I'll talk to you next Thursday. Until then, take good care of yourself. This has been Surviving Alzheimer's: Clarity, Courage, and Care. I'm Terry. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.